payments, evacuate losses and damages, propose mechanisms for continuous monitoring and sustainability of peace.
The destruction of property and the displacement of men, women, and children who were forced to flee their homes. In response and acting upon the Director of the National Security Council, the Ministry of Interior has constituted this Ministerial Mediation Committee. The committee reflects government's commitment to peace, security, and social cohesion, as well as our resolve to ensure the safe return, rehabilitation, and reintegration of all affected residents.
Felix Jimfi, Acting Director General of the National Service Authority, has been reassigned to the Ministry of Finance less than 7 months after his appointment. Sources suggest the move is part of a broader government reshuffle and was influenced by delays in national service postings and disagreements with his supervising minister over the deployment portal. He will be replaced by NDC Deputy Youth Organizer Ruth De La Cedo. Pressure is mounting on government as more than 4,000 aggrieved newly posted teachers demand payment of the 12-month salary arrears. The teachers, made up of graduates from various universities and colleges of education, have abandoned classrooms to press home their demands. Lead convener for the aggrieved teachers, Simon Kofinati, has been speaking to TV3.
We are 2,695 currently from the colleges of education.
In the classrooms to press home their demands. Lead convener for the aggrieved teachers, Simon Kofinati, has been speaking to TV3.
We are 2,695 who are going through this. A little over their staff IDs. And this is what we are asking for. It's just like giving birth to a child without giving him or her a name. You've employed us, you've recruited us. What shows that we are teachers without staff ID numbers? We are giving ourselves some days. If nothing is done, we will hit the streets.
President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, Joseph Obeng, has warned that members will embark on a massive protest dubbed the Destiny Day demonstration if government fails to urgently address concerns of a foreign involvement in retail trade in Ghana. Speaking earlier on Business Focus, he insisted the planned action will be more intense than the recent industrial protest by the association if government fails to strictly enforce the existing trade laws.
China malls, the China towns, and what have you. Whilst they are expanding left, right, center, we are shrinking. And it doesn't cause any alarm for the authorities. We have the law, we have to enforce it. It's very unfortunate that we have to look on for the citizens to take actions. And people, we are going to declare the Destiny Day demonstration very soon. When that happens, nobody can control us. Because we are the governed, but it doesn't mean that we don't have a stake in governance.
There is caution optimism in the Prestia township following the commencement of operations at the near-collapsed Bogoso Prestia mine of the Future Global Resources. This follows the company's payments of inherited debts to workers and local contractors. The community is, however, calling for employment guarantees for the existing local workforce who have endured the company's most challenging periods. Mohammed Arthur and Bernard Kwamewusu are residents.
I think the coming of Heat Good to Pistia is a blessing to the town. Upon meeting with the company, they've also assured us that when they are given the mandate to work with the indigent are going to benefit, meaning that they are going to consider those living in pristine environs before going out, unless a special position that requires a special skill.
Oh, that's
There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7. You can tune in for those of you who are on the move and on wheels right now. Also, we're streaming live on YouTube at TV3 Ghana on YouTube and also on X as well, across all social media platforms. So it's probably brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, Sasso Insecticide Spray and Qualcomm Tum Tum Preco. Coming up next on Ghana Tonight, and it's one that has generated a lot of conversation and reaction over the last 24 hours. And that's coming up next because some NDC lawyers are under fire for allegedly attempting to tamper with the prosecution of some high-profile cases. What really are the issues? What exactly is at play? And if you monitored the social media reactions to this, a number of you are now making references to some earlier pronouncements by the now Attorney General, Minister for Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayine. Will bring some clarity to those matters as well and get some reactions to them as well. But anti-graft campaigners have urged the leadership of the National Democratic Congress, that's the ruling NDC, to name and shame persons within the party who are attempting to derail the fight against corruption by cutting deals or attempting to cut deals to serve as a deterrent to others. Now, earlier, the NDC General Secretary Fifi Avikwete sent a strong warning to party bigwigs engaging in what he described as cutting deals with persons who are supposed to be prosecuted for one act of corruption or the other. Let's recall exactly what Fifi Avikwete said. Take a look at this.
Some among us are busy trying to cut deals with people who are supposed to be prosecuted. Some are becoming conduits through whom pressure is being brought to bear on people who are supposed to do what is right. I'm not mentioning names. A time may come where we may have to. Some among us are busy trying to cut deals with people who are supposed to be prosecuted. Some are becoming conduits through whom pressure is being brought to bear on people who are supposed to do what is right. I'm not mentioning names. A time may come where we may have to.
Well, that's Fifi Avikwete there. He is the General Secretary of the ruling NDC, and he was addressing the NDC Lawyers Association. So if he says, some amongst us, he's referring to the NDC Lawyers Association. That was a gathering that he was addressing. And he says some amongst them are attempting to cut deals with persons who are supposed to be prosecuted, standing trial for acts of corruption. And he says that that defies that objective and the expectation that Ghanaians have of this administration, especially because of that integral promise of Operation Recover or Loot, oral. Now, the word deals and some agreements, the first time it came to the fore, you hear the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, talk about some deals that they had with some persons who had agreed to stand as prosecution witnesses. So when Fifi Avikwete made this statement, a number of you on social media have also been referencing those statements made by the Attorney General. But guess what? Stay with us because we're going to get into matters as it has been unfolding after this statement by Fifi Avikwete, which some anti-graft bodies are asking that he should come with further and better particulars. Beyond this name, the public pronouncement, there has to be action taken to serve as a deterrent. Who are these people? Who are these NDC lawyers? So as to send a signal that indeed the fight against corruption is taking a different twist and we're serious about it. Dennis Pobere Wadam is with me in the studio. Dennis, and you've been monitoring the reactions of the public after this statement by Fifi Avikwete that addressing these NDC lawyers, that some among them are trying to cut deals with persons who are standing trial for acts of corruption. Just run us through a bit of it. What has it been?
Yes, so like you rightly pointed out, this was at an event that was held by the NDC Lawyers Association. So the assumption is that he was speaking to lawyers. And indeed, for those who are calling for further and better particulars, it is in the right direction. And that's because deals in themselves, when it comes to administration of justice, is not something bad. And that's how come, as we go along, we'll make reference to the Attorney General himself using deals in past to describe certain actions that he's taken. Now, when it comes to administration of justice and where deals are allowed.
So let's repeat that. You said deals in the administration of justice.
Yes.
It's not
In itself,
it's
not a bad thing, except he gives further and better particulars, which proves otherwise.
Perfect.
And like I said, as we move forward, we'll make reference to instances where the Attorney General himself has used deals to describe certain actions that he's taken in furtherance to the administration of justice, especially in his line of duty when he was leading prosecution in certain matters.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the reasons for which those who are calling for further and better particulars from the General Secretary of the NDC are pursuing a right path. Now, when you talk about deals, you may have heard about the plea bargaining law.
Right. Absolutely.
And basically, when you look at this law, it's full of deals. That's how best you can summarize the import of this particular law.
The plea bargaining.
Yes. And if deals is too much or too complex a word for us to deal with, it's basically talking about reaching an agreement with prosecution to do or not to do certain things.
Right. I see.
So if he was speaking to lawyers, and lawyers who, as part of their rules, are allowed to take up any brief, that is to mean to represent any clients, generally speaking, because there are a few exceptions which the laws expressly state. But generally, as lawyers, they are allowed to take up any brief. And if for any reason they pick a brief which belongs to somebody who is one of those who is standing trial now or is being prosecuted now, as part of the considerations, those lawyers, if they have the instructions of their clients to approach prosecution to make a plea offer or to make a deal offer, that in itself will not be bad. And like I said, the very famous one that everybody remembers is the agreement that this government, through the Attorney General, had with the shareholders of Unibank.
True.
In which the Attorney General had indicated he was able to make some recoveries based on which they were satisfied and they decided not to progress with the case.
True.
In even other public announcements, the Attorney General makes reference to what he calls is an NPA. That's a non-prosecution agreement.
Absolutely.
That in itself is a deal.
The non-prosecution agreement is a deal in itself.
Yes, that some people have elected to be used as prosecution witnesses so that they themselves will not be prosecuted. In other jurisdictions not applied here, we have deferred prosecution agreements.
I see.
And also, there have been instances that, in the case of the OSP, who has got quite a number of convictions based on people agreeing to plead guilty to certain offenses, that they will not go through the entire length of the trial, so that they will get reduced sentences. That in itself is a deal. So when people say the General Secretary of the NDC should provide further and better particulars, then it has to put into context that these deals that he's talking about, they are not the deals that are known to the law, or they are not deals that are known to the administration of justice.
Under the umbrella of the plea bargain and then the non-prosecution agreement.
Yes.
So because those two have a defined legal remit.
And more so,
how that can take
and more so when he was speaking to lawyers.
Absolutely.
Who are at liberty to represent anybody on any matter.
Okay, but you see, the first time we heard of this non-prosecution agreement and then the plea bargain, I think it was when he was talking about this national service, that some persons in there who worked and were part of the entire scheme had then come up and approached that they wanted to be prosecution witnesses. And that's how come they reached some non-prosecution agreement with them.
Precisely so.
So then what that means is there's some condition to it.
Exactly.
I want us to take a listen to him at that press conference so that you would get into a bit more detail on what we are seeing with how things are playing out now. This is what the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, said at one of the press conferences, specific on the update, during that update of the national service scandal a few months ago. Take a look.
Difference between an NPA, that is a non-prosecution agreement, and a plea bargain. A non-prosecution agreement is an aspect of the plea bargain. A plea bargain is simply a negotiation between the prosecutor and a person suspected of the commission of a crime, okay, that may turn out to achieve a number of objectives. Okay, so sometimes you drop the charges in exchange for the payment of a fine or a penalty. Sometimes you drop the charges so that that person will serve as a witness, and because the person was proximate to the commission of the crime, they will have information that is compelling enough to prove your charges for you. All right, so we do plea bargaining, and one of the outcomes of a plea bargain may be an NPA, that is a non-prosecution agreement. Okay, so that means that when we sign the non-prosecution agreement, we usually would immunize that person, grant that person indemnity from prosecution on certain conditions, or sometimes unconditionally. Okay, so it is guided by some considerations in the context of the prosecution itself or the criminal justice system. And by the way, in Ghana we have the Plea Bargain Act, which is an amendment to Act 30 that allows the Attorney General to enter into a plea deal.
So the Attorney General has that option to enter into a plea deal. But then if you monitor the public reaction when this plea bargain was resorted to, you can understand why some did not think that that was the best way of serving justice or reaching the expectations of people, especially because those who are of the view that if there has been any action that has caused financial loss to the state or any action that is an act of corruption, there shouldn't be a talk of any deal whatsoever.
Yes, so when you monitor the conversation, it largely stems from the government's own flagship program, Oral, which was basically one of the key vehicles they wanted to use to recover all that they said is loot. And in the estimation of many, they thought that once some of the cases had been put before the court, trial or prosecution should be expedited so that by now, some people would have been put into jail if they needed to be put into jail. Some also complain about how the process is dragging. They don't see it move at that speed that they anticipated that it will move. However, there are some who do not appreciate what is happening within the legal space now. And that's because the courts are on legal vacation. Or in the legal fraternity, they're on legal vacation. So you do not really have a lot happening around that time. So you would hear the Attorney General, for instance, mention in the last address, giving timelines as to when next people will put before court. So you have the case of the National Service Authority suspects who still have not been put before court because there's a legal vacation. You have other cases which are running, but they are not running as effectively as they would if the courts were running on a normal day or if the legal year is in session. The legal year will resume in October, and other things being equal, you will be back in court and all these people will have their day. I mean, the Deputy Attorney General had reason to give updates as to the status of each of the cases that are before the court, including the SkyTrain, the National Signals Bureau Authority, and the extent to which they've reached and when they are expected to resume trial when the legal vacation is over.
Absolutely.
So on that score, those who hear the plea deal or they hear deals, they begin to think that even already in their minds, there's suspicion that the process has stalled.
Yeah.
Not taking into consideration what's happening within the legal year. Then again, they are hearing about deals from no less a person than the General Secretary of the party, who also appeared to be worried that some members of the party are beginning to bring pressure to bear to be on the side of the persons who are prosecuted. Absolutely. So when you look at it within that light, you can understand the sentiments that have been expressed. But like I mentioned earlier, it has to be put into context so that one, they appreciate the kind of deals that are being cut, so that those who understand the processes do not misconstrue those deals to be the same deals that the Attorney General talks about, where he mentions MPA, when he mentions plea bargaining and all those things.
It's an important derivation that you make there. But let's hear him as well talk about one of the persons who has been identified as the corroborators of this National Service scheme that led to the scandal. The lawyer of this said person, together with his client, then sought audience with the Attorney General. And take a look at this.
In terms of the timing of prosecution, there have been a number of developments that came in very late. So as late as yesterday in the evening, we met in the office with one of the principal actors who is offering, to provide us with evidence. In other words, the person wants a non-prosecution, agreement. So we've asked that the lawyer she should go, and she and the lawyers should go and then bring the proposal for us to examine and then see what what can be done. Okay, so we are thinking that in the next 2 weeks we will be able to evaluate all of those proposals, including the fact that suspect James was rearrested. We'll have to look into the additional accounts.
This was also that update that he gave on this National Signals Bureau former boss. That's
yes, and Alfred, if you listen to the sequence that the Attorney General put out there, he did indicate that the suspect came with the lawyer to seek audience, based on which they made an offer so that that suspect will be a witness.
Yes, right.
You would notice that the suspect did not go alone. The suspect was represented by a lawyer. So supposing that that lawyer in question was an NDC lawyer, will it be taken to be that an NDC lawyer is bringing pressure to bear, or that is cutting a deal? Will it be the same deal that Fifi Kote is talking about? And that's the more reason why further and better particulars will be needed in respect of understanding what exactly is happening. But of course, if there are deals that are under the table or deals that do not conform to any of the laws we know under plea bargaining, then that in itself will be a problem, for which reason there has to be concern in this particular matter, Alfred.
It's a very, very important one. And then stay with me. Martin Bibu is private legal practitioner. He's joining us on Zoom right now. Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. And listening to the foundation, a very strong one that Dennis has put down on this matter. Now, what do you expect a bit more explanation from the Attorney General on why plea bargain and non-prosecution agreements are the only means of getting or recovering the loot in specific instances, as against the expectation of the public that, you know what, if people have been involved in acts of corruption, they must be prosecuted. To serve as a deterrent and also boost the fight against corruption. Do you appreciate the sentiments of the public about these things?
Oh, yes, the public also equally appreciates that it's the law. I know the law is the law. Act 1079. So let's just put it in simple terms. The plea bargaining law. Yeah, we amended the Criminal and Other Offences Act, that's Act 30, to include more elaborate provisions on plea bargaining. And that one was done in 2022. All right. And even before then, if you look at the Courts Act, 1993, the cases, when it involves state funds, yes, you can bring the money and then the court will be very lenient with you. So 1993, Courts Act. Then you go to the OSP Act, even corruption cases, there's plea bargaining. Okay. Yes. So please, I think citizens also need education that it's always been the law, and it's not only Ghana, the US, UK, India, almost everywhere in this country, there's plea bargaining. So please, let's embrace plea bargaining. Let's use it to recover as much as possible. Because remember, we are doing what? Oral, Operation Recover All Loot. So we have to recover all the loot as much as possible. We don't gain anything by just throwing people in jail. When you say the people should be thrown in jail, when they are thrown in jail, even before you get to throwing in jail, a lot of the cases take too long. You can't even finish before the elections in December 2028. Let's remember the Stephen Opuni and other cases. Seidu Agongo, all those ones. You see, we didn't finish.
So please, let's remember that it's recover or loot. We are not saying operation just throw people in jail. No, recover the loot. So there's a lot more emphasis on the recovery of the loot, money that has been lost to the state. Let's recover the loot and use that to develop hospitals, roads, etc. People are hungry. We need LEAP to livelihood empowerment against poverty. We need to feed ourselves. Too many Ghanaians are hungry, etc. What do we benefit if you throw one man in jail when the money you receive, you can recover from that man, can take care of at least 1 million people?
Yeah, but like, you'd also appreciate the divergent views on this particular position that you've taken. You've been consistent about this, that in your view, the approach should be recovery. And that's why you served as a member of that committee, the preparatory committee for oral recovery. But also there are others who would push for the prosecution as well, so as to serve as a deterrent. But then again, beyond this statement that the General Secretary of the NDC has made publicly, Fifi Kwete, calling out some NDC lawyers, he was addressing them over the weekend. He's been commended for it. But beyond that, would you also go with those who are asking that some action needs to be taken? These persons need to be called out and also punished so as to serve as a deterrent to any other persons within the government or any other lawyers within the NDC who may not have been known but are doing this?
Oh, absolutely. The first action is what even citizens are already doing. Citizens jumping on it and lauding him, commending him, and then citizens making noise. You know the noise, yes? Even when it's accusing people wrongly, it puts all of us on our toes. It reminds us that the citizens are very expectant and very angry, right? So the reactions alone are even the second action. Fifi's statements are the first action. The reactions from citizens are the second. And the third one, you can see that obviously the duty bearers, that's Attorney General, OSP, IOCO, and police, CID, will take a cue. Yes, so I believe that it will help. It means that we are reminding ourselves that, hey, it's Operation Recover or Loot. We are reminding ourselves that it is the reset agenda. So it's good. From time to time, we always need the reminders. Yeah.
And I do appreciate you for this. Thank you very much for joining us. And instructive that we speak to you on matters like this because you served as a member of the Operation Recover or Loot preparatory team. Thank you, Martin Pebo, a private legal practitioner as well. Thank you very much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. And the Attorney General, Dennis, at some point during that one of those press briefings, did respond to some allegations against him that he was fronting and rather calling people to come and cut deals. He says he's always been in his office and these people approach his office with their lawyers. Take a look at this.
Just by way of public information, I have never, okay, and I want to repeat that, I have never approached anybody who is under prosecution now or who will be prosecuted for a plea deal. I've seen on social media allegations that I charge someone and then subsequently I'm asking the person for a plea deal. I'm always in my office quietly and they send people to come to me and then seek, audience as to whether I am amenable to a plea deal. All right, and until such a time that we achieve the plea deal, we normally don't announce it, to the public. So that is what a bargain is, and then the MPA can be a result. That is, the non-prosecution agreement can be the result of plea negotiations. The last question was with respect to what His Excellency the President said regarding the freezing of assets. What we froze were their bank accounts. All right. What we froze were their bank accounts. Okay. But they may have other assets, such as houses, okay, apartment blocks, cars.
No, so that's the Attorney General at one of those press briefings, giving updates on cases. Well, so he has made this point about 3 or 4 months ago.
Yes, well, if you listen to the Attorney General,
yes.
it does appear that there was even that conversation within, or that discomfort within each time he was engaged in any of the plea bargaining deals or arrangements. Fortunately or unfortunately for him, he's the man that is supposed to handle those kind of deals, because when it comes to plea bargaining, on the side of prosecution, it is the Attorney General who will lead that. He has to agree with the accused person, depending on the nature of the case, before they put it before the court, for the court to either accept it or reject it. So he being at the center of that, it does appear in that clip that we just watched a while ago that even there was that sense that he was the one making offers to people to come and approach him on plea deals. Yes. And that is the more reason why, now that this conversation has come up, thrown at some lawyers within the NDC, basically brushing all the lawyers within the NDC having allegedly done something wrong, it is only important that, these matters be put in their proper perspective so that they are well understood and people will not be going around pointing fingers at people who really do not know anything about what's ongoing. And if there's the need to name and shame, as some of the civil society organizations in the anti-graft are already calling, then it has to be done, because many are those who are looking forward to oral working and working well.
Indeed, and that point is essential. So now you also would corroborate that call by civil society anti-corruption crusaders that beyond this statement by the General Secretary of the party,
yes,
that's the party in government, something more must be done.
Because if
people
not,
must be called out,
Alfred,
so as to serve as a deterrent.
If not, it will be difficult for the Attorney General to operate under law and continue with this plea bargaining that he's doing, in which case he's able to recover some of the loot. Because now every deal that he goes into will come with a certain level of suspicion. Ghanaians will be asking, is he the one the General Secretary was talking about?
Absolutely.
So that's why the matters need to be separated. That, okay, we are not talking about the Attorney General in his plea bargaining deals, but we're talking about other lawyers who are doing A, B, C, D. If there's a need to mention their names and the wrong that they are allegedly doing, for all you know, maybe they're not doing any wrong, but if it's a wrong that the party feels uncomfortable about, Ghanaians should know. Oral is not just for NDC, oral is for Ghanaians as well, because it's now become a policy that many are looking forward to it working very well.
Absolutely.
I'm sure senior Oliver Bakavomawo, who literally speaks about oral every day, looking forward to its work, would be excited to know that there are people who do not want oral to work.
True. And that's where the issue is. And to the extent that this was an integral part of the NDC's campaign in 2024, ahead of that election, which got a lot of people, in fact, they got the buy-in of a lot of people and they contributed to their winning. They have that ultimate responsibility as well to execute that promise of recovering all loot, as that is, if eventually proven and established. So this is a conversation that we're not leaving today, but we're going to put a freeze on this, because just like what the anti-corruption crusaders are asking, beyond this statement and this public pronouncement by Fifi Kwete, what must be done to be able to nip this in the bud, get people to answer questions and punished for what Fifi Kwete says they are doing. But this is Ghana Tonight. Coming up next, the United States of America, they've announced new requirements for non-immigrant visa applications, particularly those seeking F, M, and J visas, which cover academic students, vocational students, and also action visitors. And there's a notice that the United States put on their website, which we would get into shortly, to give you an idea of what we're talking about and the specific issues of concern that has raised some reactions as well from you, the members of the general public, on this particular one. And stay with us here on Ghana Tonight. We still have that exclusive interview with the former Supreme Court Justice William Atuguba. Beatrice Sedu, my colleague, sat with him earlier this evening. So stay with us. We're going to bring you that exclusive interview. But this is what the United States put out earlier today. The Embassy of the United States in Ghana. This is the notice. And we're going to put it on the screen right now to say that effective immediately, all individuals applying for an FM or J non-immigrant visa are requested to adjust the privacy settings on all of their social media accounts to public to facilitate vetting necessary to establish their identity and admissibility to the United States under U.S. law. So that's just for you. If you intend to apply for a visa to the United States, make sure that all your social media settings, you take off the privacy settings. Your social media account should be public. Your social media will be vetted to establish your identity and admissibility to the United States under the new U.S. laws. So this is it. This is a notice for you out there who is watching us. So Professor Ocansey is a governance expert, and for the benefit of this conversation, he led the Ghanaian community in Ohio for a very long time as a president, and then also lectured in universities across the United States for 21 years and over. He's joining us on Zoom right now. Professor Ocansey, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
Good evening, Alfred, and my greetings to all our viewers worldwide.
Now, I mean, there are people who are celebrating because the Black Stars are progressing, and eventually, if we have to make it to the World Cup, the U.S. is going to be one of the venues or the countries that will host the venues for the World Cup. But then we're seeing this arrangement as well, and it's generated some reaction that now, if you want to apply for the U.S. visa, don't hide your social media profile. Make it public for verification and admissibility. I mean, how do you react to this? How does it strike you, first off?
Well, Alfred, before I talk about that, let's congratulate the Black Stars for that narrow hard-fought win at Accra Sports Stadium. We now have 19 points. So in October, either Central African Republic or Comoros, either of the team, if you're able to beat one, we qualify for the World Cup in 2026 in US, Mexico, and Canada. So Ghanaians are looking forward to this, that a lot of people can go and then watch our stars fly high in 2026 at the World Cup. But having said that, the Homeland Security in US are cracking down on a lot of things. They want to strengthen national security checks and improve identity verification during visa processing, which has become a big issue. And your Facebook, your Instagram, your TikTok, your LinkedIn, and all other social media platforms are no more private, but supposed to be public. And who are those affected? The F visa applicant, which is the academic students, the M visa applicant, which is the vocational students, and then the J visa applicant, which is the exchange visitors. So these three individuals who are seeking or applicants looking to go to the States are affected. And what do you have to do? You have to list all your social media platforms used in the last 5 years. So all your social media platforms used in the past 5 years are supposed to be listed. And then you provide your usernames or handles for each platform that they are looking for it. Then you also set your social media accounts to public to allow the consular officer to review your content. So remember, you have to be smart. If you have any content that is child pornographic, any violent behavior, any threatening content, you have to remove it because they will check it. It is going to be public. And that also includes if you have traveled outside Ghana to another country that is supposed to be a threat to the United States, they will ask you those questions. So these are some of the areas you have to look for. Now, by making your social media handles public, these are the things that they are looking for. Three things. They want to verify your identity and then confirm whether who you are supposed to be who you are. What it means is that who you claim to be, they want to verify whether it is you or not. So verification identity is number one. Two is to check your intentions and ensure that You plan to use the visa for its intended purpose, whether you are going to use it to study, for training, or for exchange. And then they look for security risk and identify potential threats for national security or public safety. So these are the areas that they are looking for. And that means it is for you to make sure that they do a lot of deeper online checks and then ensure applicants don't pose a security risk. So make sure you are not a security risk, and then your background checks on your own social media handles are very safe and clean.
It's an important point. I do thank you so much for this. I think it's pretty straightforward and very easy to follow. Thank you for this education and for the benefit of those watching us right now. Thank you so much. Professor Enoch Enchi, or Poku Enchi, is a governance expert and then also a former president of the Ghanaians living in Ohio and he also lectured across the United States for over 21 years, now here in Ghana with Academic City University. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. And right after this quick break, that exclusive interview with William Atuguba, a retired Supreme Court judge. He sat with my colleague, Beatrice Edu, earlier this evening. I'm going to bring you portions of that exclusive interview. He's been also sharing his views about what stated misbehavior is, which was the grounds on which the Chief Justice was removed exactly a week ago, by the way, upon the recommendation by that 5-member committee that the president communicated in that statement. We'll be back after this quick break. We'll hear from Justice William Atuguba, retired Justice of the Supreme Court. Stay with us.
Conducted this exercise the same way.
So that's the JIPC CEO there. Now, a number of issues that the former Chief Justice and now member of the Council of State, Sophia Akufo, raised as well, generated some reactions as well from you. Earlier this evening, my colleague Beatrice Edu sat with the former or retired Justice of the Supreme Court, William Atuguba, who also had his thoughts to share about the removal of the Chief Justice, Gertrude Araba Esaba Tukono. And this is what he has been saying to us, that's Beatrice Edu, earlier this evening regarding the matter of stated misbehavior, which was the grounds on which the Chief Justice was removed exactly a week ago after that 5-member committee established to hear the petitions against the Chief Justice did their work over the period, and it was just on the basis of one of 3 petitions, that in first petition, that stated misbehavior was established. And this is what William Atuguba, the retired Justice of the Supreme Court, has been saying. Take a look.
In the first place, these procedures were supposed to be in camera, so ask me whether I've followed or how could I follow, except they leaked out by chance. They were supposed to be in camera, you know. But what came out in the public domain satisfied the constitutional requirements. Petition is received by the President. If it's not frivolous and vexatious, because Ajechum and the Attorney General said if the petition is patently frivolous, the President needn't even forward it. But if it is not, then he consults the Council of State. They find that is Ajechum introduced prima facie also in relation to it. If it is found, then a committee is set up in accordance with the provisions. The committee goes in, they hear the matter fairly and thoroughly. And then the recommendations, well, I think that was done.
So the process was fair?
Oh, yes, I know.
But the dismissed CJ doesn't think so.
Do you expect her to think so?
She during a press conference, complained about being denied the presence of her family, searches and what she called mental torture, even in a supplementary affidavit. I'll just read a bit of that to you. She said, a complete desecration of my basic constitutional right to a fair trial, violation of my dignity and subjection to inhuman and degrading treatment, a kind not meted out even to accused persons on trial for treason and other offenses against the state. She went on at that press conference to talk about the Edu Lodge, which was used as a place of hearings and a reminder of how her uncle was murdered, as if to cower her into intimidation and all of that.
But I saw on social media a video when I think that place was refurbished very heavily, and the then president praised its quality and everything. So I don't know. Now I say that if in a certain court, let's say it was being tried, or this investigation was in open court, and a member of the family shouldn't be used. I don't know. I really don't know.
So you disagree with her description of the process?
Oh, sure. I mean, these things are neither here nor there. In the long run, it is the substance of the matter that matters. The substance of the matter. Was she given a fair hearing?
She said she wasn't.
Oh, what? I don't know. This was in camera. How did she say she was not given a fair hearing? Because of what I said, bodily searches, and her family shouldn't be there. If the thing is to be, the Constitution says 1465, Clause 5. All proceedings under this article shall be held in camera, and the justice or chairman against whom the petition is made is entitled to be heard in his defense by himself or by a lawyer or other expert of his choice. So if it's in camera, has a provision for, allowing your relatives in?
That's William Atuguba, retired Justice of the Supreme Court of the Republic of Ghana. And that exclusive interview with my colleague Beatrice Sedu. The full complement of this interview is going to be played tomorrow morning on New Day. So make a date. Want to say thank you so much for staying with us here on Ghana Tonight. We're back again tomorrow for another conversation. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your company. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.